Last night, she abruptly resigned as the host of the show. And to say that I'm quite sad about it is an understatement.
Stephen A. Smith was completely stunned. Molly Qerim, the polished queen of First Take, just vanished from ESPN. No warning, no farewell. After more than a decade holding that show together, she walked out, and the network's bosses are reportedly furious. So what really went down? This wasn't just another Monday at ESPN's Bristol HQ. It turned into the most explosive exit in sports TV history. On September 15th, 2025, Molly wrapped up the show like usual, cool and composed, balancing Stephen A's fire with her signature calm. But behind that perfect smile, she was done. Sources say negotiations had been dragging for months, insultingly low offers, endless back and forths, and zero respect from execs who treated her like she was replaceable. After the cameras stopped rolling, she quietly packed.
Molly Qerim, longtime host for ESPN's First Take, my day job, where she has been the last 10 years. Last night, she abruptly resigned as the host of the show. And to say that I'm quite sad about it is an understatement.
Her things, walked out of that studio for the last time, and didn't look back. Nobody, not even Stephen A., saw it coming, and within 48 hours, ESPN was in full meltdown mode. By the next morning, Molly Qerim's whole world had flipped upside down. While she was asleep, Sports Business Journal's Austin Karp dropped a bombshell. The headline screamed, "Sources, Molly Qerim leaving ESPN's First Take." And suddenly, what was supposed to be a private contract talk turned into front-page chaos. The report claimed Molly had rejected ESPN's renewal offer, wanting a fresh start after 10 intense years next to Stephen A. Smith. It even said she'd stay till year's end. Yeah, that didn't happen. When Molly woke up Tuesday and saw her business blasted all over the internet, she snapped. At 9 a.m. sharp, she hit Instagram with her own shocker. "It is with a heavy heart that I share."
I have an idea. Of course I do. Am I going to share it with you? No. Because again, that's her story to tell.
"I'll be leaving ESPN and First Take effective immediately." Boom! No farewell tour, no goodbyes, just done. The same calm, collected host who ran that show like a pro had officially walked away, leaving ESPN scrambling and Stephen A. speechless on live TV. Within 1 hour, Molly Qerim's Instagram post had 500,000 views. Social media went crazy. The hashtag Molly Qerim shot straight to the top, and fans were losing it. How could someone host a show on Monday and be done by Tuesday? But the real shocker came later that day when First Take went live. There sat Stephen A. Smith alone at the desk, visibly shaken as he broke the news. Viewers could feel it. This wasn't planned. This wasn't mutual. Molly had straight up walked away from one of the biggest gigs in sports TV, and nobody saw it coming. Stephen A. tried to stay composed, but the tension was written all over his face. A decade of chemistry, gone overnight.
She, Molly, put out a statement because there was a report on it, so it kind of got out of our respective controls once that happened.
Meanwhile, ESPN execs were in full panic mode, trying to spin a story they thought they could control until December. And to make it worse, it all went down right in the middle of football season, the network's hottest time of year. ESPN was scrambling. Their biggest show suddenly had a massive hole and zero plan to fix it. Ironically, ratings for that first Molly-free episode jumped 15%, hitting 750,000 viewers. But everyone knew it wasn't for the takes, it was for the drama. Fans weren't there to hear Stephen A. rant about football. They wanted to see what the hell was going on behind the scenes. Social media, explosive. Within hours, Molly Qerim racked up 2.5 million impressions, with fans demanding answers and calling out ESPN for the silence. But this mess had been brewing for months, maybe even years. Negotiations had kicked off back in January 2025, and what should have been routine turned toxic. Molly wasn't just a moderator. She built that show. Under her leadership, First Take became ESPN's top-rated morning juggernaut, pulling over 600,000 daily viewers and $100 million in ads a year. Emmy-nominated, respected, consistent, and still offered a deal so low it felt insulting. While Stephen A. pulled in millions, Molly was reportedly making around...
Thing she didn't mention was anybody by name, including Stephen A. Smith. Now, I've left a show or two before, and trust me, you're gonna name some names, when you leave that. Just think about Shannon Sharp when he left Undisputed. Goodness, it took about 10 minutes of all the names he dropped. That's my point. Molly didn't do that. So that lets you know already there's some friction behind the scenes.
$500,000, that's when things started boiling over. Stephen A. Smith was raking in $20 million, while Molly Qerim was offered less than $1 million. That's a 40-to-1 pay gap. Let that sink in. ESPN's final offer, a 4-year deal paying around $700,000 to $850,000 a year, with tiny raises and a $200,000 bonus if she hits certain marks. For anyone else, maybe that's decent. But for the woman who boosted First Take's female audience by 30%, total disrespect. And it wasn't just the money, it was the message. ESPN wanted her to split her time, 20% on side projects like
Stephen A. Smith as well, because remember, he's an executive producer on that show, and as he will always remind you, that's his show.
ESPN plus docs and women's sports panels, watering down her presence on the show she helped build. Insiders called the offer flat out disrespectful, a deal that made it seem like Molly was replaceable. Then came the real sting. On the same day Molly's exit went public, ESPN proudly announced a fat new multi-year deal for Malika Andrews. Fans instantly started connecting the dots. Had ESPN already planned to swap Molly out? Even ESPN's own exec, Burke Magnus, later admitted.
Perkins just talked about that recently, about how Stephen A. Smith has that pull. Stephen A. Smith even talked about that when he checked Cam Newton recently, talking about, hey, I've hooked a lot of guys up with money around.
The leak forced our hand. You could practically hear the panic in his voice. By then, the damage was done. Molly Qerim wanted a clean break, but let's be real, that's corporate code for, we messed up bad and now we're in damage control. ESPN never thought she'd actually walk away. They figured they could lowball her, stall her out, and she'd cave. Big mistake. Molly flipped the script and exposed something way deeper, a toxic power game inside ESPN. Then came the twist no one saw coming. Just 5 days after her dramatic exit, former ESPN host and podcast star Marcellus Wiley dropped a bombshell theory that blew the whole story open. His YouTube episode racked up over 1.3 million views, turning the conversation upside down. According to Wiley,
you can get the money if I sign off on it, or you can get what you want if I sign off on it. But the thing is, he didn't.
Molly didn't just quit. She pulled off one of the boldest power moves in TV history. He claimed she was tired of being boxed out by Stephen A. Smith's massive influence and decided to send a message that ESPN couldn't ignore. This wasn't just about contracts anymore, it was about control. One man had built so much power inside that network, he basically decided who rose and who got replaced. Stephen A. Smith's current ESPN deal, a jaw-dropping $105 million over 5 years, plus another $12 million from SiriusXM, that's nearly $40 million a year, and with that kind of paycheck comes serious power. Stephen A. isn't just the face of ESPN, he's an executive producer, meaning he controls who gets hired, who gets fired, and who gets...
Details, quite frankly, are none of y'all business, but it's not as if I know all the details. It was a contract negotiation that was going on.
Paid. Marcellus Wiley pointed out that Stephen A. had personally helped secure big raises for guys like Kendrick Perkins, Dan Orlovsky, and Ryan Clark. But here's the dark side. If Stephen A. doesn't back you, you're stuck. And according to Wiley's explosive theory, that's exactly what happened to Molly Qerim. He claimed Molly wasn't just negotiating with ESPN brass. She was basically needing Stephen A.'s approval to level up her own career. Imagine that. Building a billion-dollar brand, yet your future depends on whether your co-host thinks you deserve more. And the pattern fits. Max Kellerman, gone. Shannon Sharp, out. Each one clashed with ESPN's inner circle of control, but the most telling clue, when Molly walked after 10 years, there wasn't even a thank you from Stephen A. on air. Molly Qerim's farewell post thanked the fans and her team, but not once did she mention Stephen A. Smith by name, and that silence was loud. After 10 years side by side, that omission spoke volumes. And when Stephen A. addressed it on air, sure, he said the right words, but his delivery felt off, forced smiles, tense tone, like he was holding something back. Then came his now infamous remark, "None of y'all business." That didn't sound like heartbreak. It sounded defensive, like a man trying to hide something deeper. Behind the scenes,
it's like, why am I sitting in a situation that I know won't get better? Think about it. You too. Beat it up in the comments. Tell me your thoughts about it. But when you know you need to do something and you know it's best for you, what you waiting for? I think Molly woke up that morning, Tuesday morning, and said, what am I waiting for?
Insiders say their working relationship had been crumbling for months. Production logs reportedly showed Stephen A. dominating up to 65% of the show's airtime, while Molly barely got 20%. She'd gone from co-host to traffic cop, just managing his endless rants. And fans noticed. When Stephen A. once snapped, "Molly, I'm talking here," it went viral. Over 500,000 views, and the hashtag #LetMollySpeak started trending. What ESPN brushed off as playful banter, viewers saw as disrespect, and the tension was only getting worse. Insiders say Stephen A. Smith controlled everything, from guest picks to debate topics, often cutting Molly Qerim out of key decisions. She wanted to shape the show's direction, not just play referee, but his influence ruled the room. And it didn't stop there. Stephen A. would sometimes joke on air about Molly's personal life, her eating habits, even her 2021 divorce from Jalen Rose. Some fans laughed, others cringed. Sources say Molly privately hated those remarks, feeling they chipped away at her credibility. By the time that leaked contract report dropped, she'd had enough. And if Marcellus Wiley's theory is right, Molly didn't just quit. She strategically checked out. Leaving Stephen A. to face the cameras alone was her way of proving First Take needed her more than she needed them. Online, chaos. Molly's revenge exploded with thousands of posts, and most fans agreed she'd been undervalued. Viewers pointed out how Stephen A. dominated conversations while Molly got sidelined. Wiley's bigger point hit home. This wasn't just one feud, it was a...
Know so much about Shannon's situation, and as soon as Shannon went through that fire, he was the first one on air saying, "Come on, man," and talking on both sides because of the bosses, because he was in that meet.
Culture problem, where one man's power could decide everyone's fate. Marcellus Wiley dropped the real bomb. Stephen A. Smith had inside access. He reportedly knew about hires and firings before they happened, was looped into major decisions, and could quietly boost or block anyone's career. That kind of control doesn't just shape shows, it shapes people's futures. It created a system where success wasn't about talent anymore, it was about favor. Molly Qerim's situation proved it. She was overqualified, essential to First Take's success, yet still boxed out because she didn't have the right ally in her corner. Add in gender politics, and it gets even uglier. A 2025 Sports Media Watch report showed women in debate-style shows earn 35% less and face harsher scrutiny than men. Molly's pay gap and treatment made that statistic painfully real. ESPN tried to spin it fast. Exec Burke Magnus hit the press, saying it was just a business transition. But if it was so harmless, why rush to respond? Because Wiley's theory hit a nerve. Molly's sudden exit didn't just spark gossip. It cracked open the truth about ESPN's toxic star system, where one man's power overshadowed everyone else's. Just when everyone thought the Molly Qerim saga couldn't get any crazier, boom, the story flipped again. While ESPN was still spinning excuses and Stephen A. Smith tried to keep control of the narrative, the truth came crashing in. Molly had sparked a bidding war, and it exposed just how badly ESPN had undervalued her. 4 days after her exit, the U.S. Sun dropped a shocker. Fox Sports had swooped in with a monster offer, a 3-year deal worth $2 million a year, with bonuses pushing it up to nearly $3 million annually. ESPN's final offer of $850,000 suddenly looked embarrassing. To put it bluntly, Molly went from earning around $500,000 to potentially 5 times that overnight. That's not just a raise, that's a full-blown career rebirth. And Fox wasn't just throwing cash, they were handing her power. The deal included hosting NFL studio shows, college football previews, NCAA basketball coverage, and her very own branded podcast. Molly wasn't just leaving ESPN, she was leveling up in style. The Fox deal didn't just come with money, it came with power. For the first time, Molly Qerim would have full creative control, something ESPN had flat out refused to give her. At ESPN, she'd been reduced to a traffic cop, barely getting 20% of the airtime, while Stephen A. dominated every debate. But Fox, they were ready to make her the star. Her new contract gave her lead host status, authority over topics, and control of her own shows. The cherry on top? Performance bonuses of up to $500,000 based on beating ESPN's First Take in key demographics like ages 18 to 49 and female viewers. Fox wasn't just hiring Molly, they were turning her into a weapon against ESPN's empire. And it didn't stop there. Amazon Prime Video reportedly wanted her for an NFL-centered debate show paying $1.8 million a year, while NBC Sports was eyeing her for Football Night in America or a revamped college football studio show offering up to $2 million. What this proved was huge. Molly Qerim wasn't replaceable. She was in demand. ESPN's moderator had become the industry's hottest free agent. The moment Molly Qerim dropped that Instagram bomb, the phones lit up. Within hours, talent agents and network execs were calling. Everyone knew ESPN had just made one of the biggest blunders in sports media history. Suddenly, Molly wasn't a moderator. She was a star with options, and the whole industry saw it. But ESPN's response? Classic corporate denial. Instead of admitting they'd fumbled, they doubled down on PR talk. Exec Burke Magnus told The Athletic, We respect her decision for new horizons. The tryouts will keep First Take dynamic. Translation: we messed up, but we're pretending this was the plan. While ESPN scrambled to find a replacement, the contrast was embarrassing. Competing networks were offering Molly multi-million-dollar deals and creative control, while ESPN was holding open auditions. And the fallout hit fast. Ratings slipped once the curiosity wore off. With Molly gone, First Take lost its balance. Even production notes showed Stephen A. Smith interrupting 10% less, like he knew he'd lost the one person who could keep him in check. Fans weren't quiet about it. Social media lit up. One post with over 1,500 likes read, "The show just feels off without Molly's flow." Polls showed nearly 70% of viewers backed her decision to leave and doubted First Take could survive without her. That says it all. But behind all the headlines and million-dollar offers, Molly Qerim's story exposed a brutal truth about sports media, how female talent gets undervalued and underpaid. That 2025 Sports Media Watch report revealing women hosts earn 35% less than men? Molly was living proof. Stephen A. Smith makes about $20 million a year. So even if Molly had earned 10% of that, around $2 million, it would have been fair for the co-host of a show pulling over $100 million in ads every year. But ESPN's best offer, $850,000, and they still expected her to smile and say thanks. Fox's $2 to $3 million offer didn't just pay her, it validated her worth. ESPN didn't lose a moderator. They lost one of their most valuable stars. ESPN made one huge mistake. They treated Molly Qerim like a moderator, not a personality, but the bidding war proved just how wrong that was. Fox Sports saw her true value and made a power move that could shake ESPN's empire. By making Molly the face of their sports programming, Fox isn't just hiring talent. They're declaring war on ESPN's morning dominance. They're betting that the millions who loved Molly's calm, confident energy on First Take will follow her to a new network, and history says it works. When Shannon Sharpe jumped to FS1, he brought a whole audience with him. When Skip Bayless left ESPN, he proved stars could carry fans anywhere. But Molly's move is different. She's not playing second chair anymore. She's the star. And insiders say she's playing it smart, waiting till late October to let the offers stack up and make her next move massive. But thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and drop a comment below, and I'll see you on the next one.